In 1961 Detroit, a young Ben is in class where he is the joke of the class for always failing. He punches a boy, causing his mother to show up in school. She is told about his terrible grades, and on their way home, she tells him he is a smart boy and has to use his smartness. One day after work, Ben's mother asks Ben and his older brother Curtis if they had finished doing their assignments, since they were watching TV. Curtis tells her he is almost done with his, while Ben tells her he is having difficulty with his assignment. She realizes he has eye problems and gets him glasses. A test is done in class, and instead of the regular F, Ben has a D. At home, his mother tells him she is happy he is improving but emphasizes that he and Curtis can do much better. She tells Ben that he has to use his imagination, and he tells her he is too dumb. She tells Ben and Curtis they aren't dumb and are made to be great people in life. On Sunday, Ben goes to call his mother so they can go to church, but she tells him and Curtis to go alone as she is having one of her days. At the church, the pastor says a story, and Ben uses his mind to imagine the story. He goes back home and tells his mother in excitement that he used his imagination and wants to be a doctor someday. She tells him and Curtis they can be anything they want if they work towards it. Ben's mother goes to a psychiatric hospital where she tells the doctor that she was in foster care and married her husband at the age of 13 just to get out. She assures the doctor they were happy until 5 years ago when she found out he had another wife and kids. She tells the doctor that she is so dumb she cannot read and she fears it will happen to her children. She also tells the doctor she has thought of killing herself before, so the doctor tells her she needs to check into the hospital. She cries and tells him she cannot, and he asks her not to think about the money because they will find it. At home during dinner, Ben's mother breaks the news that she will be away for a few weeks. She tells her sons she will be going to her sister Jean Avery's place, and that a sister Scott will come to stay with them. She tells them she expects them to learn their times tables while she is away or they are not allowed to play. At the hospital, she finds a letter Ben writes for her, and it lifts her spirits. Ben and Curtis start to learn the times tables under Sister Scott's supervision. At school, Ben continues to do better, scoring 24-25 in a quiz. He runs home after school to tell Sister Scott, and meets his mother in the kitchen. He hugs her and tells her the exciting news. Ben's mother goes to the house of a professor to clean and is amazed at the number of books in his library, and more amazed when he tells her he has read most of them. She goes back home and tells her children they will be allowed to watch TV only twice a week and are to go to the library to pick out 2 books per week and give her the summary of the books at the end of the week. Ben and Curtis start their journey of reading books from the library while their mother also takes classes from the professor on how to read. Ben gets interested in rocks after he sees an obsidian on the floor, and wows his teacher when he is the only student who knows what an obsidian is during a class. His teacher asks Ben to stay after class and shows him microorganisms under a microscope, telling Ben he is now in a whole different world. Things continue to go great for the family, with the kids doing well in school and Sonia, their mother, still making ends meet with the little she has. In 1965, Ben becomes the best student in his class and is awarded the best student in the 8th grade for that year. His teacher stands on stage and tells the other students they should be ashamed for allowing a boy of color with no father to win the award. Sonia gets angry and decides to pay back for the house she got from her divorce and is renting out. She goes back home one day to find Ben playing classical music, something he now has an interest in, and tells him the good news. They move to the house, and the boys start a new school where they wouldn't have any issues concerning their color. Ben gets ridiculed by some boys for wearing old clothes, so he tells his mother he wants new clothes. After much thinking, Sonia decides to get Ben new clothes. Ben becomes friends with some boys that take him to a shady place where he is asked to buy a pocket knife. At home, Ben sees the new pants and shirt his mother bought for him but throws them to a side of the room for being too old school. The next morning, Sonia is fixing the kitchen window and asks Ben why he isn't wearing the new pants she got for him. He tells her he didn't try them on because he didn't like it and asks her to return it if she wants. She gets angry and tells him she cannot return it because she bought it on special. Ben gets angry at her and raises the hammer she was using to nail the windows at her before Curtis swoops in and stops him. Sonia tells Ben since he is acting all smart she will give him all she earns and after he pays all the bills, he can use the rest for whatever he wants. At school, Ben stabs a friend out of anger, but thankfully the blade broke and didn't penetrate the boy. He runs home in fear and picks up his Bible, asking God to take his anger away. In 1969 at Yale University, Ben is planning on majoring to become a neurosurgeon. One of his professors tells him that he became as good as he is because of his dedication, though if you asked his wife, her reply would be he spends most time away from home. Ben tells his girlfriend Candy about his problems in class, especially chemistry, after he tells her his mom called, and he lied about having good grades. Candy tells Ben since he is good at reading, he should skip classes and read well. Ben follows Candy's advice, and on the day of the test, though he was a little late, he was able to answer the questions without difficulty. The results from the test are posted, and Ben finds out he had an A. He hugs Candy in excitement, and makes a joke about whether she will still marry him when he becomes a neurosurgeon and spends little time at home. In 1976, Ben goes to Johns Hopkins Hospital for an interview to intern at the hospital, where only 2 applicants will be accepted from 125. He passes the interview after wowing the doctor with his replies and his love for classical music. He starts his rounds in the hospital, facing some challenges, including racism. A patient is brought into the hospital with no doctor available. Ben follows the advice of a nurse and performs surgery on the patient, even though he was only a resident, and it is considered illegal without any supervising surgeon. After the surgery, his senior doctor calls him to his office and tells him he did the right thing by saving the life of the patient. In 1985, Ben is now the chief of pediatric neurosurgery, and a little girl is brought in having seizures. A doctor tells Ben she was diagnosed with Rasmussen's disease. Ben goes to meet the little girl who is asleep. Her mother tells him that is the only time she is seizure-free, and she has been on 35 different medications over the years. Ben tells the parents in his office that there is a surgery that can help save their daughter Cynthia, but it is still a gamble because she could become paralyzed after the surgery or lose the ability to speak. Ben is asked if he has performed this kind of surgery before, and he tells them he hasn't. At home, Ben reads as many books as he can to give him a better advantage during the surgery. Candy, who is now his wife and pregnant for the 3rd time, tells Ben his mom, Sonia, called and said the movers did a good job. Candy asks Ben if he is ready for tomorrow, and he asks her if she is talking about his mom moving in with them or the twins Candy is asking about. Candy tells Ben she is talking about the surgery for Cynthia, and he just sighs. The next day, the surgery to remove the left side of Cynthia's brain starts at 6:15 a.m. and ends by 4:22 p.m. The surgery is a success, but they keep waiting for Cynthia to regain consciousness. Ben is in Cynthia's room waiting for her to wake up when her parents walk in. While he is explaining to them that though the surgery was a success, they are waiting for her to regain consciousness to confirm if she can speak, Cynthia calls her mom and dad, confirming she can speak. Ben is interviewed by journalists who ask how he performed the surgery. At night, Ben is asleep when Candy wakes him up with blood on the sheets. He rushes her to the hospital where he is asked to wait outside. Time goes by, and when the doctor comes out, he tells Ben Candy is okay, but they couldn't save the babies. Ben is devastated as he stays with Candy in her hospital room while she sleeps. His mom comes in to offer him comfort at some point. Candy wakes up and tells Ben he needs to work because his patients need him. He tells her she also needs him, and she replies saying she knows she has him, but his patients need him more. He dresses for work and goes to the baby's ward to check on their progress. He continues seeing patients throughout the day and escorts Cynthia and her parents as they leave the hospital. He goes back home and checks his 2 boys in their rooms before going to his and Candy's room. He pulls off the bloodied sheets while crying at the loss of his babies and asks God to help him through this tough time. In 1987, back in the present, still finding a way to perform surgery on the Siamese twins with no side effects. One night, while he and his mother are doing dishes in the kitchen and Candy is playing the violin in the sitting room, Sonia tells Ben that she is proud of him and Curtis as Curtis is an engineer and Ben a doctor. She tells him he will find a way to save the twins, and even if he isn't able to save them both, he knows he tried his best. While playing pool, an idea comes to Ben on how to save them, and he calls his colleague. He tells them they need 2 of every machine, and he and a group of different doctors continuously rehearse on how to perform the surgery while preparing for any scenario that might come up. On September 5, 1987, at 9:15 a.m., the surgery begins. Peter and Augusta Roche wait anxiously outside the operation room. By 9:15 a.m., the cardio team is done and hands over to Ben to continue. Ben starts on his part, and hours go by as he tries different methods with risks of too much bleeding. By 9:48 p.m., he is still trying different methods on how best to go about the surgery, just as they rehearsed. The time continues to go by with the parents still anxiously waiting outside and the doctors in the operation room trying to do their possible best. By 1 a.m., Ben finds a way and starts to work on the separation. By 2 a.m., he stops the hearts of the twins, even though a colleague told him it might be risky. Ben tells him if he doesn't do it now, they will bleed to death. He is able to do the separation of the vessels with 1 minute to spare in the 1-hour limit, and they separate the twins and start to work on them differently, with Ben working on one and Dr. Long working on the other twin. By 4 a.m., Ben and Dr. Long hand over to the plastic surgery team. On September 6th, at 6:15 a.m., 22 hours later, Ben walks up to Peter and Augusta Roche and asks them which twin they would like to see first. He escorts them to the incubator room where they see their sons for the first time, separated and very much alive. Ben and his team are applauded by everyone in the hospital. He gives a conference where his mother Sonia and wife Candy are waiting for him. He hugs them and tells them he loves them. The twins and their parents return to Germany to live their lives. Ben performs more surgeries on craniopagus twins, and he and Candy start a foundation for students with good academic excellence. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. I would also appreciate a comment because it helps like you can't even imagine. It's a new channel and every bit of support counts.